The acrid smell of ozone and scorched metal hung heavy in the air as Dr. Marcus Chen picked his way through the twisted wreckage of what had been. Forward operating base Titan, his medical kit bounced against his hip with each careful step. The bioscanner's soft hum, a familiar comfort amid the chaos of destruction. Plasma burns scarred the ground in geometric patterns, testament to the Zephyrian assault that had shattered their defensive line just hours ago. Another damn slaughter, Marcus muttered, adjusting his grip on the emergency medical beacon. Red light pulsed steadily, marking him as a non-combatant medic to any surviving forces, human or otherwise. His Hippocratic oath didn't recognize species boundaries. A philosophy that had earned him both respect and suspicion throughout his career with the Galactic Medical Corps. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The battle had been catastrophic. The Zephyrians, with their crystalline exoskeletons and energy-based weaponry, had overwhelmed the joint human-alien defensive position in less than 3 hours. Marcus had been stationed at the rear medical facility when the attack began, treating wounded from the previous day's skirmishes. By the time the evacuation order came, half his patients couldn't be moved. He'd stayed behind. Someone had to now. As he surveyed the battlefield, its enhanced vision picked up the distinctive heat signatures of survivors scattered among the debris. Most were human, their thermal patterns familiar after years of treating battlefield casualties. But as he crested a small rise, his scanner detected something unusual. What the hell? Marcus paused, studying the readout. The signature was definitely alive, but the biological markers were completely foreign. Not Zephyrian, their crystalline physiology showed up differently on his sensors. This was something else entirely. Following the signal, he made his way toward a collapsed communication tower. The massive structure had fallen across what appeared to be a sniper's nest, its twisted metal creating a crude shelter. Marcus caught sight of movement beneath the wreckage. "Hello?" he called out, his voice carrying the universal medical identifier tone that marked him as a healer. "I'm Dr. Chen, Galactic Medical Corps. Are you injured?" The movement stopped. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then a voice emerged from the shadows, melodic, despite obvious pain, with an accent Marcus didn't recognize. "Human medic." It wasn't a question. "You should leave. There's nothing here worth saving." Marcus frowned, adjusting his scanner to get a better reading. The biosignatures were increasingly strange, definitely alive. It's definitely intelligent, but unlike any species in his medical database. "Let me be the judge of that. I'm coming in." "No." The voice was sharper now, tinged with something that might have been shame. "I am beyond help. Save your medical supplies for those who can still fight." But Marcus was already moving, his medic's instincts overriding any diplomatic concerns. As he rounded the edge of the debris, saw her hand, his breath caught in his throat. She was unlike anything he'd encountered in his years of treating various alien species. Her skin held a pale blue luminescence that seemed to shift with her, emotions creating patterns that flowed like water across her form. Long platinum silver hair was matted with phosphorescent blood, and her eyes, when they met his, were the deep purple of nebulae, flecked with points of light like distant stars. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, like this video, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Avorthan. Marcus recognized the species now, though he'd never treated one before. They were legendary snipers, their enhanced vision and neural processing, making them among the deadliest marksmen in known space. This one wore the distinctive armor of an elite scout. Though the equipment was damaged and stained, what made him freeze wasn't her alien beauty, or the obvious severity of her injuries. It was the way she lay twisted beneath the debris, her legs bent at impossible angles, her spine clearly damaged. Even her species' advanced physiology couldn't hide the truth she was paralyzed. "Fourth and elite," he said softly, approaching with careful, non-threatening movements. "I'm honored to meet you." Her luminescent patterns shifted to what he recognized as surprise. "You know my people?" By reputation, the Vorthan Ranger Corps is famous throughout the galaxy. Marcus knelt beside her, already running his scanner. Over her injuries, the readout made his heart sink: severe spinal trauma, internal bleeding, probable nerve damage. In a human, these injuries would be fatal without immediate surgical intervention. Was famous, she corrected bitterly. I am Zara Velthanus, formerly of the 3rd Recon Division. Now, I am nothing but dead weight. Marcus looked up from his scanner. Zara, that's a beautiful name. I'm Marcus. He began unpacking his medical kit, pulling out emergency stabilization equipment. And you're not dead weight, you're a patient. A patient who cannot walk, cannot fight, cannot fulfill her purpose. Zara's bioluminescent patterns dimmed to a dull, defeated glow. Leave me, Dr. Chen. Others deserve your care more. Others. Marcus glanced around the battlefield. I've been searching for survivors for 2 hours. Do you know something? Don't. For a moment, she was silent. Then her head turned slightly, and Marcus saw her eyes focus on something in the distance with inhuman precision. Thermal pit, 2 kilometers northeast. 7 human survivors, 3 critically wounded. Service. Tunnel complex beneath the main barracks, 12 humans, and 4 Altarians still breathing, trapped but alive. Marcus stared at her. You can see that from here? Vorthon eyes are designed for extreme distance accuracy. Even wounded, I can identify heat signatures and vital signs at ranges your equipment cannot match. Her patterns shifted to something. Resembling resignation is the one ability these injuries have not taken from me. Understanding dawned.
I guess
You've been coordinating rescue efforts attempting to the other survivors... She paused, her luminescence flickering. They do not. Listen to the crippled alien. Even your own people prefer to risk searching blindly rather than trust intelligence from one who cannot fight beside them. Marcus felt anger flare in his chest. That's their loss, and their mistake. He activated his emergency beacon, uploading the coordinates Zara had provided. Dispatch, this is Dr. Chen. I have specific locations for survivor groups. Sending coordinates now. As he worked, Marcus began emergency treatment for Zara's injuries. Her anatomy was different from human physiology, but his medical training had covered basic Vorthan biology. Their nervous systems were more complex than human equivalents, but also more resilient in some ways. Your spinal column, he said, running a neural scanner along her back. The damage is severe, but there's still electrical activity. Your people have redundant neural pathways that humans lack. Redundant or not, they are severed. Zara's voice held no self-pity, just medical matter-of-factness. I am a warrior who cannot walk, a sniper who cannot take position. I am useless. Are you in pain? Marcus asked, preparing a universal anesthetic. Constantly. But pain is irrelevant. Marcus paused in his preparations. Pain is never irrelevant. It's information. It tells us what needs to be fixed. He met her. Alien eyes, and you're not useless. In the last 5 minutes, you've provided intelligence on 19 survivors I would never have found on my own. Intelligence gathering is not my purpose. I am trained for elimination of targets at extreme range. I am trained to be the unseen death that protects my unit. Her patterns dimmed further. Without mobility, without the ability to take position, I am merely a broken weapon. Marcus administered the anesthetic, watching as her bioluminescent patterns shifted to indicate the medication was taking effect. You know what I see when I look at you? Crippled alien taking up resources that could save functional soldiers? I see a highly trained professional whose unique abilities could revolutionize battlefield, medicine, and rescue operations. Marcus began setting up a temporary spinal stabilization field. Your vision capabilities alone could save hundreds of lives if properly utilized. For the first time since he'd found her, Zara's patterns brightened slightly. You're not like other humans I have encountered. How so? They see what I cannot do. You seem to see what I can do. Marcus smiled, continuing his work on her injuries. That's the difference between a soldier and a healer. Soldiers are trained to eliminate threats and weaknesses. Healers are trained to preserve and utilize strengths. The stabilization field hummed to life, and Marcus saw Zara's patterns shift to indicate reduced pain. Her eyes remained focused on the distant battlefield, tracking movement and heat signatures with inhuman precision. 3 more survivors, she reported quietly. Maintenance shed, eastern perimeter. 1 human, 2. I cannot identify the species. They are badly injured, but alive. Marcus updated his beacon with the new coordinates. C. Invaluable intelligence. No one else on this battlefield has your capabilities. My former unit commander disagreed. When I was injured in the initial assault, he ordered me left behind. Cannot waste resources on damaged equipment, he said. Her patterns darkened with bitter memory. Even my own people saw me as expendable once I could no longer fulfill my primary function. Your people were wrong. Marcus's voice carried quiet conviction. And if they couldn't see your value beyond your ability to kill from a distance, then they didn't deserve to have you in their unit. Zara was quiet for a long moment, her enhanced eyes continuing to scan the battlefield. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. Why do you care, Dr. Chen? I am not your species. My people and yours have no formal alliance. You risk your own safety for someone who can offer you nothing in return. Marcus looked up from his medical equipment. First, you're already offering something in return. You're helping me save lives. Second, my oath doesn't have a species requirement. I swore to preserve life and reduce suffering wherever I find it. And third, Marcus met her alien gaze. I've seen what happens when people are written off because they're different or disabled. Some of the most valuable individuals I've ever known were the ones others considered broken. He gestured to his own body. I've got artificial joints in both knees and a synthetic heart valve. By some standards, I'm damaged equipment too. Patterns shifted to what Marcus was beginning to recognize as curiosity. Your people do not discard their wounded. Some do. The smart ones don't. Marcus finished the spinal stabilization and moved to treat her other injuries. We've learned that diversity of ability and perspective makes us stronger. Apparently, that's a lesson your people haven't mastered yet. The Vorthan way is efficiency. Above all else, we are bred for specific purposes. Scouts, infiltrators. When we cannot fulfill that purpose, she gestured weakly at her paralyzed legs. We are redundant. That's not efficiency. That's waste. Marcus's scanner detected internal bleeding, and he began preparing more advanced medical intervention. You're not redundant. You're specialized. There's a difference. As he worked, Marcus found himself impressed by Zara's resilience. Despite catastrophic injuries and obvious abandonment by her own people, she continued to provide tactical intelligence on survivor locations. Her enhanced vision cut through smoke and debris like nothing he'd ever seen, identifying life signs at impossible distances. Movement, she said suddenly, her patterns shifting to alert status. Vehicle convoy, approaching from the south. Not Zephyrian. The heat signatures are wrong. Marcus looked up from his medical work. Friendly? Unknown? But they are armed and moving with military precision. Her eyes tracked the distant vehicles with inhuman accuracy. 7 vehicles, approximately 40 personnel. They will be here. Within 10 minutes? Can you identify their species? Zara was quiet for a moment, her enhanced vision analyzing the approaching convoy. Mixed, primarily human, but I detect at least 3 other species signatures. Military configuration suggests a joint rescue operation. Relief flooded through Marcus. Finally, I was beginning to think command had written us all off. Dr. Chen. Zara's voice carried a note of warning. When they arrive, they will see what your people and mine saw, crippled alien consuming resources. They will want to leave me behind. Marcus looked at her, seeing the resignation in her bioluminescent patterns. Then they'll have to go through me. You would risk your own evacuation for someone you have known for less than an hour. I told you I don't abandon patients. And you're not just any patient. You're the only reason we're going to find all the survivors before that convoy gets here. Marcus activated his emergency beacon again, uploading the complete list of survivor locations Zara had identified. Without your intelligence, half those people would die before rescue teams could locate them. The approaching vehicles were visible now, kicking up dust clouds as they navigated the battlefield debris. Marcus could see the mixed insignia human, Altarian, and Centauri forces working together in what appeared to be a joint rescue operation. They will see my injuries and calculate that medical resources would be better spent on those who can. Return to combat effectiveness, Zara said, her patterns dimming with anticipation of abandonment. Let me worry about that. Marcus finished securing his medical equipment and checked his patient stabilization readings. Besides, combat effectiveness isn't the only measure of value. In fact, it's usually the least important one. For a warrior, species like mine, it is the only measure that matters. Then your species is missing out on a lot of potential. Marcus stood as the lead vehicle approached, raising his medical beacon to identify himself as a non-combatant. But that's their loss. Today, you're my patient, and my patients don't get left behind. The convoy pulled to a stop near their position, soldiers disembarking with practiced efficiency. Marcus recognized the uniform of the lead figure colonel. Sarah Mitchell, one of the most respected officers in the Joint Command structure. Dr. Chen, Colonel Mitchell called out as she approached. We received your survivor coordinates. Outstanding work hour teams are already moving to those locations. Thank you, Colonel. But I need to give credit where it's due. Marcus gestured to Zara. This is Zara Valthanus, 4th and elite sniper. She provided all the intelligence on survivor locations. Without her enhanced vision capabilities, we would never have found them. Colonel Mitchell's expression shifted as she took in Zara's condition, the obvious paralysis, the extent of her injuries, the alien nature of her physiology. Marcus could see the calculation in her eyes, the same assessment he'd witnessed from other military personnel when faced with wounded who couldn't immediately return to combat. Dr. Chen, the colonel said carefully, we have limited medical transport capacity. We need to prioritize evacuation for personnel who can what? Marcus interrupted, his voice sharp. Who can kill more efficiently? Colonel, this soldier has already done more to save lives in the past hour than most people do in their entire careers. She doesn't need to walk to be valuable. Zara's patterns flickered with what might have been surprise at his vehement defense. Dr. Chen, do not risk your own position for me. I understand their reasoning. I don't. Marcus faced Colonel Mitchell directly. This soldier has capabilities that could revolutionize our rescue and reconnaissance operations. Her enhanced vision can identify survivors at ranges our equipment cannot match. She's already saved 19 lives today. Dr. Colonel Mitchell's tone was patient but firm. I understand your medical ethics, but we have limited resources in movement, Zara interrupted quietly. Northeast quadrant, approximately 1 kilometer. 3 heat signatures. 1. Fading rapidly. They have perhaps 10 minutes before the wounded one expires. Marcus turned to the colonel. Did your teams identify survivors in that area? No. That sector was cleared as empty. Zara, Marcus said. Can you be more specific? Her enhanced eyes focused on the distant location. Underground maintenance access, beneath the collapsed communications array. 2 humans, 1 Centauri. The Centauri has internal injuries. Their vital signs are deteriorating rapidly. Colonel Mitchell looked between Marcus and Zara, then activated her comm unit. Alpha Team, adjust search pattern to Northeast Quadrant. Check underground access points beneath the communications array. Possible survivors. The response came back within minutes. Colonel, we've located 3 survivors at the described location. 1 is critical Centauri soldier. Massive internal trauma. How did you know they were there? Mitchell looked at Zara with new respect. Good work, soldier. What's your assessment of their condition? The Centauri requires immediate surgical intervention. Their secondary heart has been damaged, but their primary remains functional. The 2 humans have minor injuries but are suffering from shock and dehydration. All 3 can be successfully evacuated if medical intervention begins within 7 minutes. You can determine all that from this distance? Mitchell asked. Vorthan enhanced vision includes thermal imaging, vital sign analysis, and basic medical assessment capabilities. It is standard equipment for elite reconnaissance units. Marcus watched as understanding dawned in the colonel's expression. Ch was seeing what he had seen, not a broken weapon, but a sophisticated intelligence asset with capabilities that could save countless lives. Dr. Chen is right, Mitchell said finally. We're not leaving anyone behind, especially not someone with intelligence capabilities this advanced. She activated her come again. Medevac team, prepare for enhanced medical transport. We have a priority patient with specialized abilities. Thank you, Colonel, Marcus said, relief evident in his voice. Mitchell nodded, then knelt beside Zara. Soldier, I don't know the customs of your people, but in the human military, we have a saying, we leave no one behind. Today that includes you. Zara's bioluminescent patterns shifted to something Marcus hadn't seen before. Hope, mixed with gratitude and surprise. I thank you, Colonel. I will not forget this. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when we've got you proper medical treatment and figured out how to put your skills to better use. Mitchell stood. Dr. Chen, what's her mobility prognosis? Marcus reviewed his scanner readings. Spinal trauma is severe, but Vorthan physiology includes some natural redundancy. With proper treatment and rehabilitation, she might regain some function. Even if she doesn't, her enhanced sensory capabilities are unaffected. Then we'd better get her to a proper medical facility. Mitchell turned to her team. Load up. We have survivors to evacuate and a new kind of warfare to learn about. As the medical team prepared Zara for transport, Marcus saw her patterns shift to something resembling confusion. Dr. Chen, I do not understand. Why would your military value someone who cannot fight? Because fighting isn't the only way to. Serve Marcus replied, checking her stabilization readings one final time. Sometimes the most valuable service is seeing what others cannot see, knowing what others cannot know. In my culture, this would be seen as weakness, accepting help. Being unable to fulfill one's primary function, then maybe it's time to expand your culture's definition of strength. As they loaded Zara into the medical transport, her enhanced eyes continued to scan the battlefield, identifying final survivor locations and providing tactical intelligence that would save lives. Marcus settled beside her, monitoring her condition. As the vehicle began to move, Dr. Chen, she said quietly, her patterns showing deep thoughtfulness. What happens to me now? Your people have been kind, but I remain paralyzed, unable to fulfill my original purpose. Marcus smiled. Now we figure out what your new purpose is. Trust me, someone with your capabilities won't be sitting idle for long. The transport hummed through the battlefield, carrying them toward the main medical facility where Zara would begin a new chapter in her life. But Marcus could already see the potential, a new kind of warfare where enhanced intelligence and long-range reconnaissance could save more lives than any weapon. As they reached the evacuation point, Zara's enhanced vision detected one final survivor, hidden in debris the search teams had missed. Her alert saved one more life, proving once again that her value extended far beyond her ability to walk or fight. The human medic had seen her true worth when everyone else saw only damaged goods. Now, as the transport lifted off toward safety, both Marcus and Zara began to envision possibilities neither of their species had considered before. The real rescue was just beginning. The Titan Memorial Medical Complex hummed with activity as the evacuation transports arrived. Marcus watched the controlled chaos of triage operations through the transport's viewport, noting the seamless coordination between human, Altarian, and Centauri medical teams. The facility represented everything the Galactic Alliance aspired to be: cooperation between species for the betterment of all. Impressive, Zara observed, her enhanced vision analyzing the medical center's layout with characteristic precision. 17 operating theaters, 42 intensive care units, and what appears to be a specialized xenobiology research wing. Your people take their medical obligations seriously. Smiled at her clinical assessment. Wait until you see the inside. This place has some of the most advanced medical technology in known space. He paused, reviewing her stabilization readings. And you're about to become its most interesting patient. The transport settled onto the landing pad with practiced precision. Within moments, the doors opened and medical personnel swarmed around the incoming casualties. Marcus recognized several faces: Dr. Elena Vasquez from neurosurgery, Commander Thakmore from the Altarian Medical Division, and Director Harrison from the facility's administration. Dr. Chen, Director Harrison called out as Marcus supervised. Zara's transferred to a hover stretcher. We received your preliminary reports. It's a fascinating case. We've never treated a Vorthin with spinal trauma before. Her physiology is unique, Marcus confirmed, walking alongside the stretcher as they moved into the facility. But Director, you need to understand this isn't just about treating her injuries. She has capabilities that could revolutionize our approach to battlefield medicine. Director Harrison raised an eyebrow. Oh. Before Marcus could respond, Zara's bioluminescent patterns shifted to alert status. Dr. Chen, Trauma Bay 3 has a patient in distress. Cardiovascular emergency, the monitors are not detecting it yet. Marcus looked confused. They were still in the main corridor, nowhere near Trauma Bay 3. Zara, how can you possibly? An alarm suddenly echoed through the facility. Code Blue, Trauma Bay 3. Code Blue, Trauma Bay 3. Director Harrison stared at Zara with new attention. How did you know that? Vorthon Enhanced Vision operates across multiple spectrums, Zara explained as they continued moving. I can detect minute changes in thermal patterns, electromagnetic signatures, and biological processes. The patient's cardiac rhythm became irregular approximately 30 seconds before your monitoring equipment registered the distress. 30 seconds advance warning on cardiac events. Dr. Vasquez had joined their group, her expression shifting from professional courtesy to intense scientific interest. That could save thousands of lives, properly utilized, Zara said, her patterns dimming slightly. Though I understand your people prefer their patients to be capable of walking, my people, Dr. Vasquez said firmly, prefer their patients to be alive. Walking is optional. She turned to Director Harrison. I want her in our most advanced diagnostic suite, full neurological workup, and I want to understand exactly how her enhanced vision operates. As they moved deeper into the medical complex, Marcus noticed the reactions of other staff members. Some showed curiosity about Zara's alien physiology. Others displayed the same dismissive attitude he'd encountered on the battlefield. A group of military liaison officers huddled in quiet conversation, their expressions suggesting they viewed Zara as little more than an interesting medical case. Dr. Chen, Colonel Reeves approached as they entered the diagnostic wing. Marcus recognized him as one of the more conservative military advisors, someone who viewed alien cooperation with barely concealed suspicion. I need to discuss the disposition of this patient. Her name is Zara, Marcus said pointedly, and her disposition is medical care until she's recovered. Dr. Chen, be realistic. She's a foreign national, not even a formal ally, who sustained injuries that render her combat ineffective. Once she's stabilized, she should be transferred to Vorthon custody. Zara's patterns shifted to resignation. The Colonel is correct. Dr. Chen, my people will expect me to return for ... disposal. Dr. Vasquez looked horrified. What kind of society disposes of injured soldiers? It's an efficient one, Zara replied without emotion. Vorthon resources are allocated based on functional capability. I no longer possess functional capability. Marcus felt anger building in his chest. Colonel, this soldier has already proven her value. Her intelligence capabilities saved 19 lives in the last 6 hours alone. Intelligence gathering isn't her designated function, Colonel Reeves replied dismissively. She's a sniper. Who can't take position? Her tactical value is 0. Her tactical value, a new voice interrupted, is incalculable. Everyone turned to see Admiral Sarah Chu, no relation to Marcus, despite the shared surname, approaching their group. The Admiral was known throughout the Alliance for her strategic brilliance and, more importantly, her willingness to embrace unconventional approaches to warfare. Admiral Colonel Reeves straightened. I was just explaining to Dr. Chen that you were about to make one of the stupidest tactical decisions in recent military history, Admiral Chen finished. She approached Zara's stretcher, studying the alien soldier with professional interest. Soldier, what's your assessment of this facility's defensive posture? Zara's enhanced eyes swept the area visible through the medical bay's windows. Adequate. For a re-echelon medical facility. 17 defensive positions, primarily automated systems. Effective against standard infantry assault, but vulnerable to coordinated artillery strikes. The northwest approach has insufficient coverage. A skilled infiltration team could breach perimeter security at coordinates ... She rattled off precise tactical coordinates that made Admiral Chen's eyes widen. "How long did that assessment take you?" the Admiral asked. "Approximately 12 seconds. Admiral Chen turned to Colonel Reeves. "Colonel, our best tactical assessment teams take 3 hours to provide that level of detail. They need to physically survey the entire perimeter." "Admiral, she's paralyzed. She can't act on intelligence she gathers. She doesn't need to act on it, Colonel. She needs to provide it to people who can act on it." Admiral Chen's tone carried the weight of command authority. "Dr. Chen, what's her medical prognosis?" Marcus consulted his portable scanner. "Spinal trauma is severe, but her enhanced neural pathways show more resilience than human equivalents. With proper treatment, she might regain some motor function. Regardless, her sensory capabilities are completely unaffected." Admiral Zara interjected, her patterns showing confusion. "I do not understand your interest. My own people consider me expendable." "Your people," Admiral Chen said bluntly, "are idiots. Dr. Chen, I'm assigning this patient to your personal care. Whatever resources you need, you have them." "Admiral, I must protest," Colonel Reeves began. "Your protest is noted and overruled, Colonel. And before you cite regulations about treating alien nationals, let me remind you that Zara here has provided more actionable intelligence in the last 10 minutes than our entire reconnaissance division managed yesterday." As they finally reached the advanced diagnostic suite, Marcus began to see the full scope of Zara's capabilities. Her enhanced vision didn't just operate in visual spectrums, she could detect electromagnetic fluctuations, thermal variations, and even subtle changes in gravitational fields that indicated structural weaknesses or hidden passages. "Fascinating," Dr. Vasquez murmured, as she reviewed the preliminary scans. "Her optical neural networks are incredibly complex. It's like having a full-spectrum analysis laboratory built into her sensory system. The modifications are biological," Zara explained as technicians prepared more sophisticated scanning equipment. "Vorthon children undergo genetic enhancement beginning in the embryonic stage. My eyes contain crystalline structures that function as natural prisms, separating light into component wavelengths for analysis." Marcus studied the readouts with growing excitement. "Zara, can you see through walls?" "To some extent. Dense materials block most spectrums, but I can detect thermal signatures, electromagnetic fields, and structural stress patterns through most standard construction materials." "Holy shit," Dr. Vasquez breathed. "Do you realize what this means? For trauma medicine, you could identify internal injuries, detect hidden hemorrhaging, even predict organ failure before conventional instruments register a problem. I have noted several patients in this facility who show early indicators of complications," Zara said quietly. "But I was uncertain whether such observations would be welcome." Admiral Chen leaned forward. "What kind of complications?" "Room 247, the human patient with the abdominal wound is developing internal bleeding that your monitors have not yet detected. Room 251, the Altarian soldier's nervous system is showing stress patterns consistent with organ rejection, though they're vital. Signs appear stable, and..." She paused, her patterns shifting to uncertainty. "And what?" Marcus encouraged. "It's the Centauri patient. In room 253, they are not injured. They are suffering from a degenerative neurological condition that mimics trauma symptoms. It is quite advanced." "Doctor..." Vasquez immediately activated her CUM unit. "Trauma team to room 247. Possible internal bleeding. Altarian medical specialist to room 251. Check for rejection symptoms. And get me a full neurological workup on the Centauri patient in 253. Within minutes, confirmations began flooding back. Internal bleeding discovered and stopped in time. Early-stage rejection detected and treatment begun. The Centauri patient diagnosed with a rare but treatable neurological disorder that had been misidentified as combat trauma. 3 lives," Admiral Chen said quietly. She's been here 20 minutes and she's already saved 3 lives just by looking around. Marcus felt vindicated but also concerned as he watched Zara's reaction to the praise. Her bioluminescent patterns showed pride mixed with confusion, as if she couldn't quite process being valued for capabilities her own people had dismissed. This is unprecedented. Director Harrison had joined them, reviewing the diagnostic results. We need to understand how to integrate these capabilities into our medical protocols. Integrate how? Colonel Reeves still looked skeptical. She's one individual with unique abilities. It's hardly the basis for changing our entire medical approach. She's a proof of concept, Marcus realized, his medical mind racing with possibilities. Zara, are there others of your people with similar enhanced capabilities? Most Vorthan possess enhanced vision to some degree, she replied. Mine are among the most advanced due to my specialization, but the basic capabilities are common. Your people use these abilities exclusively for combat? Vasquez asked. Combat, reconnaissance, and target elimination. We are trained from childhood to be weapons of war. Okay. Admiral Chen's expression hardened. What a waste. Dr. Chen, I'm authorizing a new medical research program. I want to understand how we can adapt our treatment protocols to take advantage of enhanced sensory capabilities. Admiral Marcus said carefully, that would require Zara's continued cooperation. And possibly the cooperation of other Vorthan. My people will not cooperate, Zara said with certainty. They view medical assistance as weakness. They will certainly not approve of their enhanced capabilities being used for healing rather than killing. Right. Then maybe it's time they learn something from human medical ethics, Admiral Chen replied. Dr. Chen, how long until she's stable enough for full research protocols? Marcus reviewed the diagnostic readouts. Zara's spinal trauma was severe, but not immediately life-threatening, and her alien physiology was proving remarkably resilient. With proper treatment, she could begin limited research activities within a week. Full protocols within a month. Excellent. It could happen. As the Admiral departed and the medical team began more detailed examinations, Marcus found himself alone with Zara for the first time since their arrival. Her bioluminescent patterns had dimmed to a subdued glow, and he could sense her emotional turmoil. Having second thoughts? He asked gently. I am confused, she admitted. Your people value me for capabilities I was taught to consider secondary. Your Admiral speaks of changing medical protocols based on my abilities. In Vorthan society, I would be terminated for my injuries. Here, I am treated as valuable despite them. Not despite them, Marcus corrected, because of them. Your injuries don't define your worth, Zara. Your capabilities do. And your capabilities are extraordinary, but I am still paralyzed. I still cannot fulfill my original purpose. Sat down beside her diagnostic bed. Maybe your original purpose wasn't the right one. Maybe this is. Through the medical bay's observation window, they could see the controlled activity of the medical center. Teams responding to emergencies, doctors saving lives, researchers working to improve treatment protocols. It was a different kind of warfare, a battle against suffering and death, rather than against enemy forces. Hey, Dr. Chen, Zara said quietly. What happens if your research succeeds? What happens if you prove that enhanced sensory capabilities can revolutionize medical treatment? Then we change how medicine is practiced throughout the galaxy. We save lives that would otherwise be lost. We give hope to people who thought they had none. And what happens to me? Marcus smiled. You become the person who made it all possible. You become proof that being different isn't a weakness. It's a strength that can benefit everyone. Her patterns brightened slightly. My people will not understand this. Then maybe it's time your people learn something new. Marcus stood as Dr. Vasquez returned with more test results. Besides, you're not responsible for your people's limitations. You're only responsible for your own choices. And if I choose to cooperate with your research, then you choose to save lives. Thousands of them, potentially. You choose to transform what it means to be a healer in this galaxy. As medical technicians prepared for the next phase of diagnostics, Zara's enhanced vision continued to monitor the facility around them. She identified potential equipment failures before they occurred, detected early signs of infection in patients before symptoms manifested, and provided real-time assessments of treatment effectiveness that amazed the medical staff. Each observation reinforced Marcus's growing conviction that they were witnessing the birth of a medical revolution. Traditional concepts of disability and functionality were being challenged by capabilities that transcended physical limitations. Dr. Chen Zara said, as technicians adjusted her position for neural mapping, "I've spent my entire life being trained to take lives efficiently. The concept of using my abilities to save lives is ... alien to me." "Then you'll learn," Marcus replied. "And in the process, you'll probably teach us things we never imagined possible." The diagnostic equipment hummed to life, beginning detailed scans of Zara's unique neural architecture. Each readout revealed new complexities, new possibilities, for medical applications that could transform healthcare throughout the galaxy. But more importantly, Marcus watched as Zara herself began to transform. Her bioluminescent patterns showed growing confidence as medical staff sought her input on complex cases. She was discovering that her worth extended far beyond her ability to kill at long range. The revolution was just beginning. It would change everything, not just for Zara, but for the entire concept of medical care in a galaxy where diversity of ability was finally being recognized as strength rather than weakness. As the first day of testing concluded, Marcus knew they had crossed a threshold. There would be no going back to old assumptions about disability, functionality, or the rigid purposes that defined individual worth. The crippled alien sniper was about to become the galaxy's most valuable medical asset. And the human medic, who saw her true worth, would help her transform not just medicine, but the very definition of what it meant to heal. 3 weeks after Zara's arrival at the medical complex, the opposition arrived in force. Marcus stood in the facility's main conference room, watching as a joint delegation of Vorthon military officials and Alliance traditionalists filed in with barely concealed hostility. Their expressions made it clear they viewed the medical research program as an unwelcome disruption to established order. Dr. Chen, War Commander, the Svalin of the Vorthon Imperial Forces, spoke with the cold precision characteristic of his species. Though his bioluminescent patterns lacked the warmth Marcus had grown accustomed to seeing in Zara, "We have come to retrieve our damaged property and end this experiment." Property. Marcus's voice carried dangerous quiet. Zara is a person, not equipment. Zara Velthanus is a defective weapon that should have been terminated according to proper protocol, Dex Valen replied without emotion. "Your interference with natural selection weakens both our species." From her position at the specialized medical workstation they designed for her, Zara's patterns dimmed with familiar shame. Despite 3 weeks of revolutionary medical breakthroughs, the arrival of her own people had instantly transported her back to feelings of worthlessness. Natural selection? Dr. Vasquez stood from her seat, her voice sharp with indignation. "Commander, this woman has revolutionized trauma medicine in ways your people never imagined. She saved over 200 lives in the past 3 weeks alone." "Irrelevant," the War Commander stated flatly. "Vorthon served singular purposes. Hers was eliminated with her mobility. She is waste." Marcus watched Zara's bioluminescent patterns shift to pain and resignation. 3 weeks of growing confidence, of discovering new purpose, was being systematically destroyed by her own people's rigid thinking. The transformation he'd witnessed from broken soldier to revolutionary healer was under direct attack. Actually, Admiral Chen entered the conference room with a datapad in hand. "I think you'll find her contributions highly relevant." She activated the room's holographic display, showing medical statistics that made several delegates lean forward in surprise. Patient survival rates have increased by 47% since implementing Zara's enhanced diagnostic protocols. The Admiral continued. Treatment time for trauma cases has been reduced by 60%. We've prevented 18 medical emergencies before they became critical. And most importantly, we've developed entirely new approaches to medicine that could benefit every species in the galaxy. General Marcus Torres, the Alliance's chief medical officer, stepped forward. "War Commander, these aren't just statistics. They represent lives saved, suffering prevented, and medical knowledge advanced beyond anything we previously thought possible. The Vorthon Empire is not interested in your medical advances, Dexvalen replied coldly. We are interested in retrieving our property and maintaining the purity of our military doctrine. Purity. Marcus couldn't keep the disgust from his voice. You're talking about abandoning someone who could change medicine for every species? In known space, because she doesn't fit your narrow definition of useful. Zara finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. War Commander, I accept my fate. I understand that I am no longer functional according to Vorthan standards. No, Marcus turned to face her, his conviction absolute. Zara, you are the most functional person in this room. You've saved more lives, prevented more suffering, and advanced more knowledge than anyone here. Don't let their blindness make you forget your worth. Dr. Chen is correct, Dr. Vasquez added, moving to stand beside Zara's workstation. Your enhanced diagnostic capabilities have allowed us to detect diseases in their earliest stages, predict organ failure before symptoms appear, and identify treatments that would have taken weeks to develop through conventional methods. Furthermore, Admiral Chen continued, we've documented everything. Every technique, every protocol, every life saved. This isn't just about one individual anymore. It's about proving that diversity of ability makes us stronger, not weaker. War Commander Dexvalen's patterns shifted to what Marcus was learning to recognize as Vorthan anger. You speak of strength, but you champion weakness. This defective specimen has accomplished more in 3 weeks than your entire medical corps manages in a year, Admiral Chen interrupted sharply. And if you can't see that, then perhaps the problem isn't with Zaritz, with your definition of strength. The conference room fell silent as the two military leaders faced off. Marcus could see the broader implications playing out. This wasn't just about Zara's fate, but about fundamentally different philosophies of what made individuals valuable to society. War Commander, Zara said quietly, drawing everyone's attention. I request permission to speak. Balin's patterns showed surprise at her formality. Speak. Zara's bioluminescence gradually brightened as she gathered courage. For my entire life, I was taught that my value lay in my ability to eliminate targets at long range. When I lost that ability, I believed I had lost all value. She paused, her patterns shifting to something Marcus had never seen before, quiet pride. But these humans showed me something different. They showed me that my enhanced vision could save lives instead of taking them. Sentiment, Dexvalen, dismissed. Irrelevant emotional weakness, is it? Zara's voice grew stronger. In the past 3 weeks, my irrelevant capabilities have prevented 47 patients from dying during surgery by detecting complications before instruments could measure them. I have identified 32 cases of misdiagnosis by seeing through tissue to detect problems conventional scans missed. I have predicted equipment failures that would have cost lives. She activated her workstation's display, showing real-time monitoring of the medical facility. Right now, I can see that patient room 347 is developing an allergic reaction to medication that won't show symptoms for another hour. The human patient in room 289 has internal bleeding that your people's instruments won't detect for 6 more hours, and the Altarian soldier in room 301 is having an emotional crisis that will lead to self-harm if not addressed immediately. Medical alarms immediately began sounding throughout the facility as Zara's predictions proved accurate. Emergency teams rushed to respond to the very crises she had just identified. Impossible, breathed Subcommander Veltinus, who Marcus suddenly realized shared Zara's family designation. Such precision of foresight, It's what makes her invaluable, Marcus finished. Not despite her injuries, but because of what those injuries taught her to see differently. War Commander Dexvalen's patterns showed confusion. An emotion Marcus suspected was rare for the rigid military leader. These capabilities, why were they not utilized in this manner before? Because, Admiral Chen said quietly, you never thought to ask what else she could do. You saw only what she couldn't do anymore. The Vorthan delegation exchanged rapid bioluminescent communications patterns, too complex and fast for Marcus to follow. Finally, Dexvalen spoke again. This presents complications for our standard protocols. Then maybe it's time to change your protocols, Dr. Vasquez suggested. Science advances by questioning assumptions, not by rigidly adhering to them. Marcus watched as something shifted in the room's dynamics. The Vorthan delegates were seeing what he had seen on that battlefield, that their definition of broken was fundamentally flawed. Dr. Chen Zara said, her patterns now bright with determination. I wish to make a formal request. Of course, I request political asylum within the Galactic Alliance. I wish to continue this medical research and to prove that diversity of capability benefits all species. The conference room erupted in shocked murmurs. Political asylum between allies was extremely rare, typically reserved for cases of fundamental ethical disagreement. Mara Marcus said carefully, "Are you certain? This would mean permanent separation from your people. My people cast me aside. The moment I was injured," she replied with quiet strength. "These humans used to saw value where my own species saw only waste. I choose to stay with those who value what I can contribute, rather than mourn what I can no longer do." War Commander Thex Valen's patterns shifted through what Marcus could only describe as rapid internal debate. This is unprecedented. Vorthon has never requested asylum from the Empire. Perhaps Subcommander Velthanus interjected quietly. That is because the Empire has never given them reason to do so. The tension in the room was palpable as the Vorthan delegation continued their bioluminescent discussion. Marcus realized they were witnessing a potential turning point, not just for Zara, but for Vorthan society itself. War Commander, Admiral Chen, said finally, I'm prepared to grant Zara's asylum request immediately. But I'm also prepared to offer something else, a formal exchange program between our medical corps. Let your people see what enhanced sensory capabilities can accomplish when used for healing instead of killing. You would share these medical advances with the Empire? You would share them with anyone willing to use them to save lives rather than take them, Marcus answered. Medicine doesn't recognize political boundaries. Suffering is universal, and so should be our efforts to end it. The war commander was quiet for a long moment, his patterns cycling through emotions Marcus couldn't identify. When he spoke again, his voice carried a note of uncertainty that seemed alien to his rigid military bearing. Subcommander Velthanus, he said finally, you will remain here as liaison for this medical exchange program. Report directly to the Imperial Medical Council on these ... developments. And Zara? Marcus asked. Thex Valen looked at her for a long moment. Zara Velthanus is hereby released from Imperial service and granted permission to pursue this new path. Perhaps ... He paused, his patterns showing something that might have been respect, perhaps. There is wisdom in your human saying about teaching old warriors new purposes. The relief in the room was palpable, but Marcus could see this was about more than just one individual's fate. They had just proven that rigid definitions of functionality and worth could be challenged and changed. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the observation deck of the newly constructed Integrated Medical Research Center, watching as Zara led a team of human, Altarian, and now Vorthon medical specialists through advanced diagnostic procedures. Her enhanced vision capabilities had been refined through technology and training into something approaching medical magic. Patient presents with standard respiratory symptoms. Dr. Vasquez was saying to the mixed species medical team, but Zara's initial scan suggests something more complex. Zara's bioluminescent patterns shifted to focused concentration as she studied the patient through multiple spectral ranges. Confirmed underlying cardiac irregularity masked by respiratory presentation. Probable genetic marker for Altarian heart disease, early stage. Recommend immediate cardiac evaluation and genetic counseling. The prediction proved accurate within hours. Another life saved by capabilities that would have been wasted in traditional Vorthon society. Dr. Chen, Subcommander Velthanus, approached the observation deck, her own patterns bright with excitement. The Imperial Medical Council has approved full integration of enhanced diagnostic protocols across all Vorthon medical facilities. They estimate it will save thousands of lives annually. Marcus smiled, watching as Zara trained another group of medical residents in enhanced observational techniques. And how are your people adjusting to the idea that their defective soldiers might be their greatest medical assets? slowly, but with growing acceptance. 3 more injured Vorthen have requested assignment to medical research rather than termination. The Empire is ... evolving. Below them, Zara's pattern suddenly shifted to alert status. She quickly directed the medical team to Emergency Bay 7, where her enhanced vision had detected the early stages of a massive trauma case arriving by transport. Incoming casualties, she reported through the comm system, 17 individuals, mixed species, Priority 1 human male, extensive burns, approximately 6 minutes before shock becomes irreversible. Priority 2 Centauri female, internal. Injuries, surgical intervention required within 12 minutes. Priority 3. Marcus watched with pride as the medical teams moved with precision, guided by Zara's impossible awareness. Lives were being saved not despite her injuries, but because of the unique perspective those injuries had given her. He said, to Sub-Commander Valthanus, when I found her on that battlefield, I thought I was just saving one life. And instead, she saved us all from our own limited thinking about what makes a person valuable. Marcus watched as Zara continued, coordinating the emergency response with calm efficiency. She taught us that being different isn't a weakness to be discarded, it's a strength to be celebrated. The Vorthen sub-commander's patterns showed deep thoughtfulness. Perhaps that is the most important lesson of all that healing begins. Not with fixing what is broken, but with seeing the beauty in what is different. As the emergency response concluded, successfully all 17 casualties stabilized and receiving appropriate treatment, Marcus reflected on the journey that had brought them here. Paralyzed alien sniper had become the galaxy's most effective medical diagnostic tool, not by overcoming her limitations, but by embracing the unique strengths those limitations had revealed. Zara looked up at the observation deck and saw Marcus watching. Her bioluminescent patterns shifted to warmth and gratitude. Emotions that had replaced the shame and despair he'd first witnessed on that battlefield through the medical center's windows. The lights of the expanded facility twinkled like stars. Each light represented lives saved, knowledge advanced, and barriers broken down between species. The revolution that had begun with one human medic refusing to abandon a disabled alien soldier had transformed into something far greater, a fundamental shift in how entire civilizations understood the value of every individual. The crippled alien sniper had found her true worth, and in doing so, had taught the galaxy that worth was never about meeting others' expectations of normal. It was about contributing your unique gifts to make the universe a better place for everyone. In the end, that was the most human lesson of all. That diversity of ability, perspective, and experience wasn't something to be overcome or discarded, but something to be treasured as the foundation of progress itself. The galaxy was healing.
Oh, one life at a time.
Guided by vision that could only come from someone who had learned to see clearly through the darkness of apparent defeat. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. This one hit the mark. You won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.